Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Off the Script podcast with myself, Jermaine, Joseph, and our special guest today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Robert Waterhouse, IFBB Classic Physique Pro.
How is it saying that now? Like, have you got used to it yet?
No, I don't think you'll ever get used to it.
Yeah,
really.
I bet.
Did it at Christmas every time.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you? Is it
have that addressed to IFBB Pro in the Christmas cards?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Well, I sort of make a joke. I mean, for a job, we promote health clubs all around the UK.
Mm.
And obviously, you know, all sorts of different health clubs, from kind of like top hotel spas to like rough and ready bodybuilding gyms, and like, you know, sort of just announcing myself as an IFBB Pro when I meet people. I don't actually do that, but yeah, that's the kind of calling card, right? So
yeah, how's it been then the past week or so since you obviously got your pro card? Has it been just like a wash of?
It's been mental.
Yeah, I bet.
Mental. Like, I laugh because at the start of the year, when you're trying to convince your missus that you want to do a bodybuilding show again.
Yeah.
No, the whole thing was she knew I was going to be competing, and I said why I want to compete this year, for one of the main reasons, other than just because I love competing, was actually to try and raise my client profile for clients. So for
Absolutely.
Coaching profile. So what I thought that meant was, if I do a few of the other different federations, like Two Bros, PCA, stuff like that, I might pick up some more clients along the way. So if I do well at shows, then people might want to reach out. And that was kind of my thought process. I didn't quite realize maybe how well it would go. It's worked out kind of better than I thought, if you like. But yeah, so that was kind of just like, yeah, that was it really.
Wow. Yeah, no, it's, have you got like, obviously you'll have like a bunch of people asking like, oh, can we coach you and stuff, or like be coached by you or whatever. Is there anything else that's come out of that was unexpected or?
Well, I think that the huge thing was obviously being on Fuad's podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fuad's Abiyad. If no one's watched that, please go over and watch that, because that was just really cool. Like, I'm just a big bodybuilding, like, since he's been doing it, and even as a bodybuilding fan of him from like 10 years ago. And when I was just like sat on my couch, like watching like YouTube and his channel, and then he like messaged me, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
Like, oh,
we've
we'd
got,
love to have you on the podcast, and I was just like my missus, you know, you're just like jumping around in the background, like so surreal, all of it, to be honest. But yeah, like absolutely loved it, and it's just to like wanting to do like to say, oh, can we come do a podcast with you? I'm like, yes, I just agreed to absolutely everything, and just try and, you know, take it all in my stride, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. By the way, we're having. We've had some unstable connection as well issues. So if anyone missed any of that, I don't know if that's going to come through in recording. But yeah, no, from what I've seen, you've just been on it constantly.
Yeah.
I started following you, I think, a couple of months before you competed at the Two Bros. So because I just like, you came up, I was like, oh, it's okay. It's a Natty Pro. He's in the Natty Pro League, competes with all these people, knows a bunch of people who like I know. Like last year, I've been previously coached by AJ Morris, and he's still currently, I consider, my coach. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll follow him and see sort of what he comes with this year, because it's just like the Natty Pro League is just leaps and bounds ahead of like just your standard Natty show that you'd get. So. Yeah, it's super cool to actually see that a Natty professional can actually go to a show like the Two Bros and can actually stand up to guys who are like 50, 70 pounds bigger. Like,
I know.
Cool.
Yeah, it's madness. And I sort of hash this on a little bit because I kind of want people to take it into perspective who maybe are only just getting into bodybuilding. But classic physique is all criteria. So if it's judged how it should be judged, as I said, if I'd been judged on bodybuilding, I wouldn't have made top 5, no doubt. Because there were people harder than me, there were people bigger than me. I was just put together better. and presenting myself well, and that's what tick boxes. So it's kind of like that's how it's worked.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people think as well when they think classic physique, even in the beginning of classic physique, they thought of almost like the Frank Zane-esque physiques, the like more streamlined or like more structurally balanced physiques, which is what you are. So I'm glad that like people like you are being rewarded for that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think like you can kind of look at some classic physique shows, right? And it's the same from a judge's perspective. Like I obviously used to judge with the BMBF, the DFAC. And you can have athletic class, right? Or figure class is a better example. You have figure class, right? What you're looking for is an X frame, like an hourglass type figure, and everyone turns up looking like athletic competitors competing in figure.
Yeah.
So they're all straight down and really lean.
Yeah.
So if you have criteria to match and no one else meets that criteria on the stage, what do? So what they've been doing is they've been rewarding some of the pros who've won, not so much the pros actually, because a lot of the top guys are all still pretty classic. But some of the guys who've won British finals in different federations, whether it be UKBFF or whatever, they're like, well, that guy's not classic. He's just a smaller bodybuilder.
Yeah.
He meets a height and weight division. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, well, that's not really classic. So the more when you get then guys turn up who do meet the guidelines, that's what should be rewarded, and that's what they did. So that's why I obviously came away with a win. So
wow. Have you up until this year just considered yourself a bodybuilder? Like, is this really your first sort of thought that okay, maybe classic is a good route? Or
not really. I did a classic bodybuilding show in 2013. The one I won my pro card with the week before at the UKBFF Welsh Championships.
Okay.
My mate competed in that show, Barry Cunliffe, who was a natural pro with the DFAC, and he wanted to do a run-out show. And I said, I'll just jump in there with that and do the classic. And we both won our classes, which was cool.
That is cool.
So that was my first experience of classic. And then I did the PCA, I did the JP Classic in 2017 after the Grand Prix.
Okay.
Which I landed on. I came second out of 20 in that. So like, I knew that classic was going to be good for me. It was just, I've said this a few times, but the reason I didn't do two bros before was just the qualifiers were too early for me in the year.
Yeah.
When you're a fat kid trying to get into shape for them shows and you're not, you're 3 months away from kind of being ready. That was simply the only reason. And, I'm pleased that it kind of, worked out and did that really. So.
Yeah. How have you find, like, we don't like bringing it up too much, but how have you found prepping with what's been going on this year?
As in with lockdown?
Yeah.
Do you know what? It's, whether you call it like, I don't know, fate or whatever, but like, it was like a blessing in disguise. Anyone who's followed, like, because I had, without skipping around, I had a bench, a barbell, 140 kilos worth in plates, 50s or 55s, 12s, 10s and 30s as far as dumbbells. That's all I had. A nice little patio area outside the training, and all I did was all my normal basic training that I do. Just couldn't really do as much accessory work like a hammer strength incline press. I'd have to do something. But do you know what? Like, you couldn't ask for a better prep, really, because all I did was eat, sleep, and train. I went to bed on time. I did my cardio. I didn't have anything else to do but bodybuild. So with the fact that then the shows kept getting pushed back, it just gave me more time to get in shape. Like, I was like really pushing it towards the end. Like, still at 5 weeks out, still not ready after prepping all that time. And it's like, my body's just like that. And then once I get there, I'm cool. But for me, like, because I train like that anyway, it was a godsend. If I didn't have the barbell and stuff, I would have been gutted. I was very fortunate that I was able to train legs once a week in a gym.
Oh, wow.
Which was at Shreds Fitness Centre, one of my mates who owns a gym down the road from me. That's not my normal gym, but I train there at least once a week. Great leg equipment in there. That was an absolute godsend because I was getting a little bit tired of doing like car park lunges and stuff, because like to the start of it, before I managed to like create a squat rack out of 2 benches like put together. You know, you get up to about 100 kilos for like clean and pressing that over your head's a bit of a job. And then squatting with it's very light, and then trying to take it off your back is like an absolute fight for your life. So it's kind of like, so that was getting a little bit tiresome on my shoulders and like wrist joints. So I don't envy CrossFitters at all, or will any be doing any powerlifting to come years, shall we say.
So like in terms of your training, because I know I'm pretty sure you've said before on, it might have been Fuad's podcast, I remember you saying you do a bit more volume currently as opposed to
I mean, I've always been
heavy training.
It's like, it's definitely like over the last like 10 years of training. I think ever since I won my pro card 2013, I would consider that prep is where I switched to more high volume training. Yeah. Because it all came from one, doing intra-workout carbs. That was that originally. It was I can't remember what it was. I think it was like Size On or something from Gaspari or something like that. Yeah. But like I was just finding like I was like doing what I would normally do, and then be like clucking to come and like do more. I just wanted to do more. And then from there, my volume just went up, and I was recovering well. So all that kind of stuff. So that was kind of like notoriously how I got into that. And then, as I said, I just enjoyed training so much, just around my fault, just started doing more volume, really.
Yeah. Cool. And like when people say high volume training nowadays, people just assume that it's lightweight. I imagine after you doing years of low volume training, you're still lifting some pounds, like some actual heavy weight. You're just doing it with the high volume work, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's like, there's like definitely the principle of like a lot more feeder sets to get there. Yeah. So like my typical, let's say I'm doing, I don't know, dumbbell presses, it might be 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and then maybe a back down set. But like, you know, the rep ranges would go maybe high to low. But like, I would consider from like, you know, 30, 40 kilo sets. They're not super easy, but they're also not hard. Yeah. And I was still maybe doing 8 to 10 reps on all them sets. Right. They weren't like, okay, I'll just touch the weight and then move on. It was like, you're thinking I'm trying to almost get a pump towards them top sets. And maybe I've changed a little bit with regards to that approach, because I can see the benefits of doing like less stuff, getting to that weight. Yeah. But yeah, that's just kind of how I always did it. And I always just sort of enjoyed that, you know, like getting a pump in the process and not just like smashing myself on the top sets. Yeah. As much as like, you know, I obviously, you know, you're going to yield a response from doing that. It's just, I think it was just, I just enjoyed training, and it was kind of felt like doing it.
Yeah, this is like a topic that comes up a lot with us. Like every time we have, I don't know if you know Matt Tofton. Anytime we have him on, anytime we have a pro on, or someone who like actually has had a lot of time on their training, a lot of the time they say that they might have started off low volume, but they end up switching to the high volume because it just makes more sense at that point. Because like there's only so many plates you can put on a leg press or a barbell before it just becomes almost redundant in a sense.
Yeah, I think it's like, it's good to have like done a bit of everything and find where you feel fit. Yeah. Like it was even things for like, I don't know if you could even put it into this category, but like calorie expenditure. Yeah. Like, you know, I would say that my calorie expenditure was far higher doing higher volume than it was doing like, you know, just top sets and
back off.
Like, you know, doing it that way, if you like. I mean, you can make the argument for it, because I'd say you could say that top sets are more intense if you did it on the heavier stuff. But, you know, I was moving an awful lot, whether it be from putting your weights backwards and forwards up and down the gym, or like, you know, doing like 10 reps on each set. Like I was just doing a lot of calorie expenditure probably during them sessions probably.
Wow. So what is your plan for the rest of this year? Obviously you've now got a pro card. Has that changed your plan at all? Are you still planning to go and do any of the DFAC and that sort of federation? Like what's your plan?
So you broke up a little bit on me there, but did you just ask what my plans were contest-wise?
Yeah, so like, because you've now got a pro card. Has that changed anything for you, or?
No, it just means that I will obviously be competing in the pro ranks in the IFBB, which is cool. As far as what maybe a lot of people don't know is that if you accept your pro card, you can't go back and compete in another federation.
Ah, of course, I forgot about that. Yeah.
So, yeah. So people are like, oh, well, why don't you come and do WNBF? I'm just like, well, like, then it would mean giving up my pro card to then go do a different federation. I'd have to win my pro card again to actually be eligible to compete in the IFBB. Like, that's how. It's not like it's just through choice. Like, I don't want to do the other shows.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of the things that that's kind of like, you know, how it works. And I was pretty sure that was the case beforehand. Mm-hmm. Whether people agree with that or not, you know, will I miss competing in the BNBF and DFAC? Yes, 100%, because all my friends are in that federation. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, that's one of them. But yeah, 100%. Like, so the first pro show is in 5 weeks. Yeah. That is called the Rigo Raw. So I'm obviously jumping in on that. And then regardless of what happens at that show, that will be the end of the season, because if by some absolute miracle I win it, which I said is a bit of a, you know, a very much long shot. I don't have any really expectations for it. Then I would qualify for the Olympia, which is insane. Yeah. But that would be the Olympia 2021. It wouldn't be this year.
Ah, okay. Gotcha.
So regardless, I'm definitely having some burgers and some stuff after the show this time around. So
yeah. So are you gonna, like, let's say you get that qualification for the Olympia, which would be insane. You're a natural competitor. Where do you see yourself going from there?
Like, I think you at least have to do the first one.
Yeah,
at least,
of course, yeah.
Right? It's probably not something that I will still go down the path as far as crossing over. I really don't think I will. I think, like, we said this after the show, like, it was always like a thought of, like, would you, wouldn't you? Like, would you have to? Like, you'd have to make that decision. But do you know what? Like, it's been so encouraging and so inspiring to have the amount of people that have come out of the woodwork and been like, we don't have natural shows in my country, and I've just seen you do this, and it's made me want to get off the couch and go train.
Yeah.
And people who are like, if you can do it, like, then let's just, like, pave the way to give everyone else hope. And I just think once you cross over, you can't go back.
Yeah.
So I just feel like I've done well to this certain point. I've had such good success with natural bodybuilding. I just feel like I would probably just regret it. And I just feel like, you know, okay, I might never, ever place in a pro show, ever. But the reasons for me competing now is not the same reasons of me competing when I was 20 years old. You know, like, I want to be able to coach full time. I want to be able to have a successful business off the back of that, and, like, you know, enjoy the whole thing of bodybuilding. If that makes a lot more natural, like, you know, great.
That was one of the questions we had. Was do you think you turning pro naturally is going to pave the way for a lot of future competitors? You know, maybe pushing it and going to a 2-bro show whereas in the past they would maybe compete with the WBNBF or maybe a NABA show as a junior even, you know, and just encourage more people to push themselves and push their genetic limit, so to speak, you know, because you and guys like Kia, especially in, like, the classic division, or you're pioneers really, because you're taking the sport back to what it really is. And as you say, you know, fitting criteria, and whether or not you're enhanced, you know, if you can fit that criteria and come in hard enough and shapely enough, then you should be rewarded for that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I said it's as much paving the way, because I think that, you know, without sounding arrogant at all, I think that you can't just be a smaller bodybuilder. That's the kind of draw a line in the sand. You have to be put together well for classic physique if you're going to do well on that level. Otherwise, you are just a smaller version of what them other guys are. The guys who obviously still look fantastic, but as I said, they're not quite classic. But if it does allow more people to, like, be a bit more ballsy and go and like do that show. Because okay, I went in there with the intention of that you always train to win, but it was like if I go get smoked, it doesn't matter. Because really, in a day, I've got no right and no business in actually doing one on the show like that, really. Because I've
yeah, it's true.
Obviously, you
know, if you were, you're now going to be known as the natural guy in the lineup, and everyone's going to be like, "Oh fuck! If I lose to this guy, does it make me less of a competitor?" Or you know what I mean?
Yeah, I just think that like it creates such a niche, and I didn't have any thoughts of this whatsoever. Because same again, like I never really like put myself in that kind of like pedestal where you think like, oh, I'll be like paving the way for others and all this kind of stuff. But it just makes me so much more like when you get such like overwhelming feedback, like half the clients more than half the clients that I've taken on are all being natural guys, more than half, like 90%, because they're like, I want to do a show and, you know, I think you're the guy to help me because you maybe like, you know, you're one of the top guys in the Natural Pro Federation. So like, for me, as I said, like if I then suddenly just cross over to the dark side and everyone goes, like, what a disappointment, you know, just like everybody else. So as I said, it's not, you know, I'm a massive bodybuilding fan. Obviously it's completely everyone's own decision in whether they want to go down that route or not. And I would never like, you know, tell a client like, you know, if that's what they want to do, then that's what they want to do. But on the same side, I just think that I've done all right to this point, and I'm okay if I never place in a pro show because I've kind of set out what I want to do, you know?
Yeah. I think like, especially for me and Joe, like I'm 21, I've just turned 21 and I've had one season of competing. And after seeing that show, I remember like, I posted some, like, I think I reposted like you holding like your trophy or whatever on my story. And I remember, of all people, my mum replying to it. And I remember her replying to it going, so that's what you're going to do. Cool. And like, I think she like, because of the name that's sort of attached to you now and like what that and the impact that's had on a lot of people who are, like you say, in the natural community who are just starting out, it did kind of put into perspective for, I think, also people who are not necessarily in bodybuilding, but who are surrounded by it, like my family or Joe's family or whoever's family who's like got a competing family member. And they can look at that and go, there is actually an avenue here that doesn't require someone that I care about to necessarily take huge leaps health-wise.
Yeah. I think I said it's just one of them things that, as I said, it just, if someone does it, then it's like everyone thinks, well, at least if it gives them a try to do it. And like, let's be honest, I think a lot of good natural guys would place very well in these shows.
Think so, yeah.
They really will, because
most of the DFAC pros, most of them.
100%. I mean, you know, you make the case for like, let's say Nathan Williams turns up at one of them shows. 100% he's winning.
Yeah.
No doubt about it for me. I actually laugh because he was looking pretty lean. He'd maybe done a bit of a scale back on his diet. And I thought for a second that he might jump in the 2 bros.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't care if anyone else competes apart from Nathan.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because like Dave K is phenomenal, but am I maybe a bit more classic than Dave? Probably. Maybe obviously not as big, but definitely a bit more classic. Like Nathan's kind of got like enough classic lines to kind of like to get away with that with like 10 times more muscle. So it's kind of like, you know, it's one of them. It's like, you know, say if anyone turns up, I hope it's not him. So like, yes, okay, top of the tree, people like Nathan, but also, you know, there's plenty of good natural guys on the circuit and that who have classically put together physiques who would do well.
Yeah.
So.
Do you see there being like an avenue? Obviously, like it's kind of genetic dependent, but you see someone like Keon Pearson, who was competing and earning a pro card naturally, like you've done. Do you see there now, just in the future, being a lot more of that?
I hope so. I mean, I don't know Keon's background because obviously, I guess there was that question: is he? Isn't he? But I would say that he was. I
believe so.
I think he was.
Yeah.
But then I don't think he was competing in natural federations or was recognised as like a natural pro. So it's kind of like, maybe it's like, first do it that way. I think that like that looks cool, because people like on the natural bodybuilding circuit will have kind of known of you if you've kind of competed at that high level. And so again, that's not to say arrogant. It's just that for our small circle of people, like, you know, we go to places and everyone's like, oh, like he's like a famous bodybuilder. I'm like, no. I'm just famous in a very small circle. That's it. So we always laugh about that. But yeah, as I said, I think that there's no reason why there can't be more, for sure. Yeah.
One thing that I did want to get into was your background, because that's something we end up asking a lot of people who come on here is, how did you actually get started with all this? Like, let's go back 20 years or whatever. And
so yeah, it's pretty cliche, I guess, as far as like background bodybuilders. So I was 20 years old, being trained, joined the gym when I was 14. I got released from pro football clubs or pro soccer clubs for your American listeners.
Yeah.
When I was like 17, basically really thought I was going to be a professional football player. Like, I was kept right on till the end. There was like 5 scholarships given out. I was like number 6.
Wow.
Didn't get a scholarship. So like everyone else had been released, and it was like me till the very end, and then didn't get a contract. So that kind of shattered my dreams a little bit. I then went to try out at Southampton. Didn't get in there at a scholarship after 6 weeks or so. Played like at semi-pro clubs for a year. Didn't enjoy playing football like that at that time. Started to get into the gym. I actually had an injury where I actually broke my ankle when I was about 18. And I started
to relate to that.
Yeah.
I've been.
I started doing more gym work, and I would already have been doing like more gym work since I was like 14 to actually get a bit stronger on the ball for football. I sprinted nationally as a kid as well. So I was like doing like, I was a 11.2 second 100 meter runner when I was like 14, 15.
Jeez.
I went to like national levels with that. I was always very good. So that was kind of like my background as far as like sporting wise. And then I just fell into the gym, and it wasn't until we had a guy called James House, who's done his very first show last year. Bless him. He did it in men's physique. And he was a guy who said to us, you guys should do natural bodybuilding.
Wow.
We're like, natural bodybuilding? Like, what's that? We just seen the magazines with like, you know, Arnold on the front, and that was kind of all we knew. He's like, no. He's like, come to this show. So we went to the BMBF Bognor Regis show back in 2007 it was.
Wow.
And I walked in and saw a banner of Rob Hope and a few of the natural pros on there, and was like, there's no way them guys are natural.
Yeah.
Like every kid does at that age, and basically watched the show, was absolutely blown away with the whole thing. Saw the juniors and thought, I'm bigger than everybody there. Like, I'll definitely do a show. Obviously, bear in mind, it was just a qualifier.
Yeah.
And then pretty much from that point on, we left that show. That was like probably like June time. And I spent the rest of that summer to Christmas like bulking. Like, really did pound the calories in. I think I put on about 3.5 stone in about 3 months. And then we basically started our prep in like, you know, February for a June Scottish qualifier show, and that's the rest is history from there, really.
Yeah. So what, like, in terms of your competitive history, obviously you turned pro naturally in the Natural Federation, and now you turn pro naturally in the IFBB. Yeah. How many wins how many shows it take for you to get like wins and for you to go, oh, this is it, I've got something here?
Okay. So I was very fortunate that I had really good success. And this is one of the reasons I actually have said on previous podcasts that the reason why I stayed natural was because I was good at it straight away. Like I won the Scottish qualifier in my very first year at 22. And I then went on to do the British finals and won the British finals that very same year. So it was like, all I knew was like winning in that very first year.
Yeah, nice.
I then competed as a lightweight. I did come down quite a lot in weight to make lightweights from 2009, 2010, and took second at each British finals. What's funny is that I have had way more losses in my bodybuilding career than I have wins.
Wow.
No, it's probably not even, actually. A lot of hard lessons, actually. So what happened was 2009, I did my first qualifier as a middleweight.
Yeah.
And came 4th out of 4 and was like, just not good enough to do the misters. I'm just not big enough yet, whatever it is. And my very good friend, Coach DSL on Instagram, or Dan Ross, like, you're still fat. That's why you lost. So then basically, obviously went on, obviously continued on with prep, decided to do another show, came second in that next show to Daz Cooper, qualified for finals. But that was kind of my like contest history, was like shit at qualifiers. The year I won my pro card, I placed 3rd to Shane Raymond and Ali Stewart.
Okay.
At the qualifier. And then I was a heavyweight and then competed as a middleweight at the British Finals the year I won my pro card.
Wow.
So, to like 2014, last in the Grand Prix, 7th out of 7. And then 2016, 4th in the Grand Prix, then won Worlds. So like I've had lots of those like, results where like sometimes they were okay at like 4th. And then like 2017 British Grand Prix was an absolute wounder for me, placing 4th. Like I was thinking I'm going to be nipping at Dave K's heels, and I was like no way near.
Wow.
And then by then 2017 Worlds like raised the bar again. It obviously allows you to go to that next level. And that's kind of what my contest history has been like. It's like I've won lots of shows, but I've also had my ass handed to me in lots of shows. And that's what I say. It's like Jay Cutler quote, but that's what really builds character. That's what really defines you, is kind of like you have to go and have a few sore results and like, have more to give to kind of allow you to get to the next level. And that's been me all over that house. I was very, very fortunate that this year, this first show of the season, is the very first time since I was a junior that I've actually done well on my first show of the season.
Wow.
Every single time I'm always like, okay, I need an extra 6 weeks.
So it's come full circle.
Yeah, 100%. So I said like, and as I said, this is, it's really hard to say this without sounding arrogant and like dismissive. But as I said, I was about 80% for this show that I won a pro card in. And as I said, like, way more to give like through leg conditioning, glute conditioning, and overall, like I have one of them physiques where the harder I get, the kind of smaller and leaner I get, the better I look. The better the proportions are. My waist just keeps going like this. Yeah. My arms just keep getting more and more like defined and just look absolutely bonkers. So it's like, your proportions just get silly. Whereas when you're carrying a little bit in the off season, your waist is a bit thicker. Like it takes you to get to that realms of body fat before you look jokes.
This is I don't know if you thought about this before, but what do you think the outcome of the Two Bros would have been if you were 100%? Would you still have won no questions asked?
100%. I would have been, I think, no disrespect, it would have been a cakewalk. Yeah. Because I think that I would have been harder than other guys as well. Yeah. I wouldn't have just been like on par conditioning. I would have been harder for sure. Because I think like you've got, I say it's just almost like, I always like hate talking like that. But I just think like, I know how much better I can get. It's like a confidence in my own ability of like, okay, like I was like 11 stone 11 for that show. And there's always lots of different looks when you go over your contest history of where you are weight wise. Yeah. But what I need to be is I need to be about 11 stone 6 and then carved up to 11 stone 11, absolutely busting full, not depleted from 12 stone to 11 to basically be lean. Yeah. It's such a different look. So when you're absolutely peeled to the bone, a little bit depleted, and then you fill up and you're like 3D, that's the look you need. And I said that it changes the whole proportions again. And I'm sure, touch wood, and I'm sure I'm already better now than I was at that show by
without a doubt. You can see it in your face as well. You can tell that you're actually like you are digging for it now.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't just come from my face. Right. So I just know that within 5 weeks, I think that I'm going to like surpass where I've been ever contest conditioning wise.
Awesome.
Because I just know like my body's in a good place. I've got lots of food in the diet, and I know I'm just continuing to get leaner. So.
Yeah, that's something that like I think is, I don't know whether that goes for everyone, but I found last year that being fresh or feeling fresh in a season makes such a difference to how you end up on stage. For me, at least.
Definitely.
Like
as I said, when you're chasing fat loss, the body's in such stress.
Yeah.
Like for me, like the mental stress of like, am I going to be hard enough? You know, even right the way through to the show, it's like, you know, my missus like took a look at me like 3 days out from the show, and like we pretty much had like a full blown meltdown because I was just like, she's got the worst, as I said, the worst lie face ever. So like I started posing and she's like, oof. And I'm like, what's the matter? She's like, oh, nothing's wrong. I'm like, I know there's something wrong. What's the matter? And she's just like, you're just not hard.
Yeah,
like,
just flat. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't even that. It was just like, look at my legs. She's like, your legs look really small and they're not hard, and they're not as hard as they have been, which was a truthful, honest statement. But it's obviously going into the show. It
plays on your mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But like, you know, as I said, like, you know, we talked that out, and I'm sort of like, you know, how should we say, experienced enough and, you know, long in the tooth enough for it to understand like that's how it is. Like if that's how it is, that's how it is. And it's like, hey, like nothing's going to change the outcome. All I can do is be in control of trying to rest my legs up, trying to get a bit better for that show. And as I said, fortunately, it was, you know, there was no point stressing about it because it was enough to do the job.
Yeah.
But, you know, you do need people to be able to look at you honestly. And, you know, you need to have thick enough skin to realize, okay, this is just where I'm at, and then beat them with it rather than opposed to having a meltdown and pulling out of the show. I could have easily pulled out of that show.
Thank God you didn't.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, that's the thing of like, you know, like seeing it through to the finish line. Like over that last 3 days, my legs continued to get harder and harder and harder just by being off them. I was literally eating feet up on the bed. Yeah. And it was like from not doing an hour and a half of cardio a day, it just got harder and harder and harder. And that, as I said, I'm like now, as I said, it's a different physique altogether again. So I just, you know, I mean, I'm just really excited to kind of put it out there because even if I place nowhere, people will see there's a notable improvement. Yeah,
you've still, at the end of the day, you have still improved on your last showing, and like that's all that matters, right? That you continually improve.
Exactly that.
So, yeah, that's cool. So, like coming back around to doing your first, I guess, your IFBB Pro debut, which is what it is. Where would you like to place in the lineup? Where would you see yourself other than winning?
Well, as I said, like I think that it would be. There's a really good little quote that one of my mates, Aaron, who I run the Natty Muscle Radio podcast with.
Okay. Yeah.
And he said that basically you need to be in a mindset where you know you can win and train to win, but you're not arrogant enough to know that you can't get beat. And there's a big difference. So for me, it's like I'm training to win. Like, I think, like, I can be 20, 30% better than I was at my other show. I think that, am I better classic looking than some of the other top pros? Probably. Is it going to be enough with size, condition, and then being classic enough? Probably not. But I think that the biggest mistake I made when I did my second pro show, which was basically my first pro show as a DFAC Pro. So I won the Pro card 2013, and I went to Worlds. Just I know you're riding off the back of a win from a Pro card. So whatever happens after that, it's going to be a bit of a downer because, like, you know, I placed 5th in the heavyweights at Worlds out of about 8 or 9. So it was like a good placing for me, but it was like, okay, cool. 2014, I went into that British Grand Prix. I placed 7th out of 7, and I beat myself because that's how I trained and how I thought for that show. So all I thought was, these are all the names on paper. You've got Nathan Williams, Dave Kay, you've got Daz Cooper, you've got Baz Conlon. They're all better than me. They've all beat me before. They're all better than me, and that's how I went in with the attitude. So, and that hurt me the most. Right. So I didn't lose enough body fat. I probably didn't train hard enough because I was just like, I'm just going to enjoy the experience.
Yeah.
And so now I have had that lesson already. So now I'm thinking I'm well capable of beating some other guys. As I said, whether it's actually like I go there and just get absolutely smoked, but at least I'm trained with that mindset and, you know, you're experienced enough to do that. So I think anyone who's doing a show, it's like the best advice I could give you is like, whoever is in your show, it really doesn't matter, because once you stand next to them, like you may be very well, like hang with them in some shots and even beat them in some. So just because like, you know, someone has a good following on social media or, you know, they're well thought of and you like their physique, you never know. Like, you know,
it's having that positive affirmation. Like last year, it was obviously my first season. So I had no expectations particularly of like how good people were going to be or how bad people were going to be or how I was going to be, other than the fact that I knew that I needed to be the best I could be. And and I remember getting messaged by Jack Richardson, because I competed with him last year. We were in the same division. And up until that show, it's like everyone who you talk to online who you potentially compete against, it's friendly banter. And I fully went with the expectation for that first show. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to this first show. I think I'm as conditioned as Jack. I think I've got a chance, all this stuff. There was no way in hell that I was going to beat Jack, but it was the mindset going into it that made all the difference for that show. Definitely.
Yeah, right. As I said, you know, you've got to train with some self-belief. And I think like, you know, the higher you go up, okay, like you get bigger names and bigger people, but you know, as I said, you're not doing yourself any favors if you're just feeling like in the back of your head, I'm not as good as everyone else. So that's just kind of like a really big lesson that I've learned, that no reason why, like, you know, if the judges like what I bring, there's no reason why you couldn't end up walking away with a win.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, you know, just to go, well, like, look, like I've looked at Darren Farrell's Instagram and like, he's like 5 times the size of me. So like, I shouldn't beat him, but you just don't know. Because aren't some guys just like, you know, not the classic look that the judges like? And that's, you know, I don't know. You know, as I said, I can go there and come last and that'd be cool. You know?
So what was that, Joe?
Proven that you can beat bigger guys at pro qualifier. So
that's it. You know, like size is not everything, everyone. Like everyone listening, you can be a smaller physique and you can still like just smoke the lineup. So yeah. What is your sort of like advice to a lot of the younger people? Because we have like a fair few people who are like between the ages of 16 and 20 who are listening. And a lot of the time I feel like we should gear some of the questions towards them. So what is your like big key bit of advice for those people who are currently, let's say 16, starting out in the gym, coming into this and want to compete naturally?
Okay. So I would say that like, in bodybuilding, it's an old man's game and time is everything. Mm-hmm. So how I looked when I was 22 and I walked into, you know, British finals and shows like that, and everyone was looking at you thinking, wow, this junior's good. Yeah. But when you stand next to someone who's had 10 or 15 years of like chipping away at like the gym and that density they have in their muscles, you can't do that. No matter if you took gear, whether you did that, like you just don't get maturity like that. It's like how an oak tree would form over a period of time. Like it's that marbling and that hardness and everything that you'd get, and that maturity, it takes time. So don't expect to walk.
The longer a steak's matured, you know, the harder and more grainy it is, and it's like meat, you know. Always put it that way.
Yeah, it's a good analogy. It's like, you know, as I said, they always say something like, you know, nothing that was ever worth doing, like, you know, was done quickly. I don't quite know the analogy, but it's kind of like, you know, like to build a good physique, and a very good physique is going to take a lot of time.
Yeah.
So don't expect to achieve that over 2 years of training and then expect to just look like an IFBB Pro, because I mean, I joined a gym at 14 and I've been training consistently for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I would say I've been, you know, like eating properly, like, you know, 6 to 8 meals a day, and like, you know, following the processes of bodybuilding since I was 18 and I'm now 34. So, you know, you can very for sure, like with what we know in today's ages, you can sure get to that genetic ceiling quicker, for sure. But it's still going to take you a long, long time, way longer than you expect.
Yeah, I agree. There's some things that even if you get initially very quickly, there's no way you can make up for it in the amount of time that you think you can. Like when I remember like being 15, starting out in the gym, and in the first 6 months, I'd like completely transformed my physique. And as many people do, right? When you start out in your first year, like you make ridiculous amounts of progress. Yeah. And I remember just looking at myself in the mirror going, I'm going to be 20 and I'm going to be an IFBB Pro with all this shit. And I was just telling myself that. And like, look, like a year on, I looked at myself. I was like, yeah, no, I think I get it now. Like it does take that time.
And I think, you know, with all that said, like it is definitely totally worth it by the end. Yeah. Like, you know, when you've had a good 10 years of training under your belt, like, and you've been doing everything right, like you say, you'll look pretty good. Yeah. Regardless. Like, no doubt. Like, yeah, no doubt. You'll look good if you've applied yourself to that. You'll look good. Yeah. So, like, definitely work at it and like make it your passion, make it your hobby. And the good thing is with like, you know, like getting from point A to point B is that the journey along the way, you're always progressing, or you should at least be. So like, it's always new. It's like, you know, when you diet for a show and the first time you ever do it, and like each week is the leanest you've ever been in your life. Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. So like, you know, I found a new vein, or I didn't have this line there last week. And like, that's also exciting. So it's almost like enjoy the process of it all as well. Definitely. You know, it's a cool thing to do with the human body, you know?
Is there anything like, obviously with a lot of natural like competitors, it seems to be the whole thing in the natty community of just get shredded. Is there anything a bit more to it than that? Obviously, I think you spoke on Fuad's podcast about you are on a more moderate protein, high carbohydrate diet, and obviously you've built up a massive amount of food in the off season, so that's going to play a role. But is there anything else to it other than just really getting shredded?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I definitely think like just getting shredded isn't enough, because it's bodybuilding, not dieting. It's not competitive dieting. Yes. So it's all very well, you know, people going with the saying, which I love, is like condition at all costs. Like, yes, that works to a certain degree, but as I always say, condition is nothing without fullness. So if you are expensing every bit of, you know, body fat that you have just to get like, you know, glutes and hamstrings in, but you've got zero going on up top just to bring the glutes and hamstrings, it probably wasn't worth the expense. Yeah. It's a too high a price to pay, in my opinion. As I said, like, you know, then you'll get like a really well put together guy turn up in your class who's nowhere near as conditioned as you and end up beating you. And it's like, how is that guy beating me? I'm way harder than he is. And so you have to, you know, it's bodybuilding at the end of the day, not competitive dieting. So bear that in mind.
Should we get into some questions?
Do we want to get into some...
Yeah, perfect time.
Sure. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
You can go ahead first, mate.
Sorry, you cut out there for a second. Yeah. Let me pull some up. So we've already kind of covered that. Do you plan on going to the dark side now that you're pro? We've kind of covered that. So we've got one. It's a fuck, marry, kill question. If you want to do that.
You're breaking up pretty bad.
Am I?
Breaking up on anyone else's.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? All good? Okay. So it's a fuck, marry, kill question. There's always going to be an immature one. Fuck, marry, kill, Chris Bumstead, Rough Diesel, or Breon Ainsley. And this is to all.
Oh, Jesus. Who was the third one?
Breon.
Well, I'm probably going to marry Chris Bumstead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because probably the I guess the probably the coolest out of the three that I think is just like he's got a good, you know, good personality. He's cool.
Yeah.
Who am I killing? I like all three. I like Rough Diesel because it's less competition.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, take that scalp, and then I guess Brion. Oh, yeah, the other one.
The other one.
Because I can just imagine you sound clipping this now, and then that goes on to Nick Strength and Power, and then before you know it, I'm known as the Natty Gay guy. So
yeah, that's it. Yeah, Rob Natty Gay Waterhouse. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
If we ever make it to Nick Strength and Power, I think that'll be the end of the podcast.
I hope that does happen. I hope this comes up in about 5 years when Rob's on the Olympia stage. And everyone's.
I guess disclaimer: nothing wrong with being gay. It's just that I don't want to be known as the IFBB guy who just wants to sleep with Brion Elmsley. So, yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, in a few years from now, the Olympia commentator says, "Yes, a few years back, he said he wanted to sleep next to the guy he's posing with."
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna. Oh, geez. I think I'd have to marry Chris. I think that's got to be the answer, doesn't it? Really, that's the. I think I'd have to sleep with Rough Diesel. What a guy!
Yeah. Okay.
Just entranced by his excellent posing, and then kill Brion. Sorry, Brion. Right. Should
I'm in line with you, Jermaine. I think ours is the same.
Yeah.
I don't know. I might marry Rough Diesel.
You might marry Rough. Okay.
Every morning, and I'll be the best poser of all time.
Amazing. Right, another one. Win one pro show and retire, or consistently be in top 10 for 5 years.
I think top 10 for 5 years, me.
Yeah.
I obviously would love to win a pro show, but as I said, the reasons for competing and stuff now is like
it's different.
Just to be on the map and stuff, really. So I'd like to be able to better my business like long term and stuff like that. So probably going to give it a bit more exposure, build up a bigger fan base, I guess, and go from there.
That would be pretty wild, though, if you won, let's say, the Alicante or something like that. Then you beat out all these good names, and then you went to the Olympia.
You know what? I mean, how nuts would it be to go to Olympia? I would just be the biggest fanboy. I'd just be like round trying to fist pump everybody and like getting autographs and getting my Olympia tracksuit. Like, it's hilarious because like the funny thing is, like, you know, in some sort of like, you know, distant dream, it could happen one day. Like if I go to like, I might go to a pro show in 10 years time and I'm the only one there, and you end up qualifying for Olympia. Like it could happen.
It could happen.
So, but you know, it's one of them things. I think it's just like, as I said, that is the ultimate goal. I think it's the ultimate goal for any bodybuilder, whether they're classic physique, men's physique, whatever.
Yeah.
If you've got a pro card, and every man and his dog is trying to do, you know, if you have to qualify for the Olympia on points by doing every pro show and bankrupting myself, then maybe so be it.
Honestly, all I want, if I got to the Olympia, I'd just be gassed to get the tracksuit. I really like the tracksuits. I think they're really cool.
Apart from the ones they had last year, which weren't very cool.
Which ones were, wait, let me look.
They had like, I want to say like Nebula or something.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
I mean, like, they're all right, but like, you know, like the old school one, like the 2005 Jay Cutler tracksuit.
Yeah.
Like the Pro Star ones or whatever they were. Like, they're like super cool. And like, I need
4XL. Yeah.
Looking up the 2010 Mr. Olympia tracksuit. See if it actually.
2005. Yeah, 2005 was the year. That's the one. That's the one on the Jay Cutler DVD, which is.
That's. I think that was one of the first years they had the tracksuit and the.
Stop wearing suits. Yeah. It was. Yeah. You're right. Good bodybuilding knowledge.
Yeah. Calling around the corridor and that.
In the tent. Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. One of the questions I had was, who are your favorite or your top 3 posing influences?
Do you know what? I haven't actually got any. Oh, I'll tell you I have. I tell a lie. Samir Banu, the 84 Mr. Olympia, I believe it was. He's got one of them physique. It just looks good in every angle.
Yeah.
And when I looked at classic physique, I looked at some of like Frank Zane stuff, but you know, I was always an Arnold guy because I just loved Arnold. But I think when you actually look at like Samir's, like it's it's just got some of these cool shots of like his arms in these
the
positions.
ground poses with the arms out and
It just looks so cool. There's a wicked video I watched that someone sent me like a week before the show I did last time, and it was like, you know, like you see stuff and it just like puts you right in the moment. Or it was like a video of him like opening up his like Olympia routine, and he just did this pose where he's like, come out like this, and like his arms look jokes, and it was like, that's what I want to look like.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Samir Banu. So yeah, good question.
Yeah. For me, I'd say
it's timeless as well.
I think for me it's Tom Platz, because that was one of the only things I actually had going for me last year was I had glutes and I had some legs. So I'll go with that.
Cool.
Yeah.
What else we got, Joe?
You as well. Bob Paris all day long.
Yeah.
Bob Paris, very different. Yeah. And then I like Dorian and guys like Raul as well, just for pure freakiness and stuff like that. But
everyone's seen that. I can't remember which pro show it was where he walks out on stage and it's the crappy like 240 pixel video of him coming out and then just doing the most muscular to Rammstein. Yeah. Everyone knows that one. That's cool. That's such a cool video to watch. Yeah. Next question, Joe. What we got?
We've covered most of mine. It was mainly about going to the Olympia, where you see your physique in 3 years' time. Pretty much. One thing I did want to ask was, with you aiming to make coaching your like full-time income, do you have any specific plans in how you're going to do that? Because obviously, very saturated market. Obviously, you're pretty unique in your niche now.
I mean, in all honesty, I could do it now if I wanted to. I obviously from the recent success and stuff like that, I just think that like the job I actually do around the UK is a very good job as far as you travel to a different gym every 6 weeks. So as long as you don't mind like carrying an air fryer around with you and a George Foreman grill and like living in like different bits of accommodation, like, you know, every 6 weeks and missing some of your creature comforts and like having to train in a pure gym, you know, it's like, okay, it's not the ideal scenarios, but like, it's cool.
Yeah.
That's a very good job. I really do enjoy it. I've been doing it 10 years and I do like it. However, I think just kind of riding the train I'm on, to be honest. Like I had a talk with my fiance, Mrs. last year, and it was like, how are you going to progress your coaching? And I thought about hiring a mentor. I thought about doing this because like, I've got lots of tools in the locker and know how to get people in shape, know how to coach. Yeah. It's just how much do you do as far as like content to get new clients? And that was what I was struggling with. I had like 20. So it was like, it wasn't like I didn't have any clients. Yeah. It was just one of them was like, if you're going to do it full time to bridge a gap between my normal pay for my other job and then do coaching full time, you're going to need a lot more. So it was one of them. And that was basically how it is. So I think to answer the question, doing more of what I'm doing, like launching a YouTube, posting more on social media, finding a niche in my market. Like I didn't really know the niche in my market until 3 weeks ago. Yeah. So it's like, no, okay, right. You can just be the natty contest prep guy. Cool. Yeah, I'll take that. Sure.
Have you any, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. Have you had any people who've come to you for coaching who are pros already?
No.
Okay.
No.
Interesting.
No. Do you know what? I always said, if I'm going to coach, I want to coach competitors. Because coaching Doris to lose 5 pounds for a wedding does not want to get me out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, it's not
fun.
Yeah.
However, what I have had is lots of really good gym enthusiasts who want to go to the next level, maybe to compete. Yeah. And I would consider them more lifestyle clients, general population, what you want to call it, but with a bit more experience. And that's great. Like I absolutely love that because you're almost taking people to like the newbie gains. Yeah. and like starting to follow formulas of how you should do things, in my opinion. And, you know, like you got some guys just like, you know, like one guy he's doing the nationals in America. And like, I couldn't give you a worse diet plan as far as for a contest prep. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just thinking, this guy looks great. He'll look incredible if you just put him on some decent basics. And I just think that's like, that for me is really exciting.
Yeah.
And so it's not just competitors. It's like guys who just like, you know, they're just going to make a ton of progress because they're starting to follow the right formulas, you know? So I just like, I couldn't be happier to be sort of coaching these type of people for sure. I didn't think it would be.
Yeah, that's what I've found so far is that, because I've done PTing in the past. I got qualified when I was, how old was I? I got qualified just after I turned 18. And I did PTing and stuff, and like I've like done in-person coaching, I've done boot camps and stuff. Like I've done all that stuff, and it did get to a point for me as well where it just wasn't gratifying anymore, and that's why I stopped.
Yeah, that was kind of what I went through at exactly the same age.
Yeah, it's just like it's all well and good having someone for 1 hour of 1 week, but then if they're messing up the rest of the week and all they do is go out, smoke, drink, party, eat like a tub of Ben and Jerry's every night, what's the point? Like,
yeah, it's because I said, you know, you always have to take you out of that scenario because you want your clients to do things as you would do them. And the sooner you realize that with PT, like that's not really the case. You know, you are going to be training Doris to lose 5 pounds for a wedding. You're not going to be training an Olympic athlete who wants to squat and deadlift heavier. It's like, so like, you know, you'd have to have a very, very, you know, unique skill set to be coaching people like that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you know, like I do some PT here and there, and I do a lot of posing coaching, not plugging myself, but I am plugging myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
You know, for that kind of stuff. But, you know, as I said, like, yeah, but on the same side, like, you know, me like gets wedded, just doesn't, you know. You know,
well, there's a reason why, you know, high level coaches prefer to work with higher level people, is because you got that same competitive mindset. And it's like even for me, like I'm a very competitive person, come from sporting background. Now I'm around more people who are competitive, you know, whether it's for a sport, whether it's for the stage, it doesn't matter. But I find it quite difficult to hang around people that just like going to go on the piss or do this and stuff like that, because I can't mesh with them anymore. And I feel like, yeah, it's like I went out with the missus and her friends a couple of weeks ago, and I was just like, don't really belong here anymore. You know what I mean?
I remember you sending me a Snapchat when you went out as well, and you're like, what am I doing here?
It's like,
Sorry guys for the technical difficulties on my end.
Yeah, I think he's gone.
I'm here. I think I'm here. I'm back. I'm back in the room.
Better.
Do you know why? Do you know why it's gotten worse? Is because obviously I live currently and I work on a university accommodation, and now all the uni students are back. The bandwidth is awful. There's too many people.
I see. They're all watching Netflix. That's it.
That's it. Yeah, they're all on there. They're all watching. I don't even know what. Pretty Little Lies, probably, or something. That's all that is. It's ruining. They don't care about the podcast. It's annoying. Sorry, viewers.
We're big. You know, we always close the show. We know you're a big food guy, as seen by the off-season pictures. On this show, we always ask for a death row meal. Obviously, you're deep into prep now. Once it's all over, like we've had Joshua Kinsey-Clough on, we've had Louis Moylan on, we've had, you know, Kubler on, all these guys. So what would be your starter, main, dessert if you're 10 minutes away from going to the electric chair?
Oh, okay. Starter, mains, desserts. Oof. Oh, starters. See, starters is a funny one. I'm definitely more of a starter and mains guy than I am a dessert guy. What do I like? I'll tell you what I'd have for mains first of all, and then I'll think of another one. In fact, a good starter is like sliders.
Yeah, yeah.
Good slider burgers. When we spent some time in Australia last year, there's a place called Grilled, which is like a healthy burger joint. It's not really that healthy. It's just like, I don't know whether they use good quality meat for their burgers, I guess, really. And they do these little 3 slider burgers, and one is like brie and cranberry, I think it was, in bacon.
Nice.
Then there was like a southern fried chicken one, and then another little burger one. And they were always just like incredible. So that would be like, slider burgers for a starter. Mains, I'm going to be really bro. My always go-to since I've started bodybuilding, always like Domino's pizza.
Nice.
And I've ordered the same Domino's pizza for probably the last 15 to 20 years since I ever started eating Domino's, and I've never deviated.
Okay,
so
basically,
it is. So it's the Bob Waterhouse special, if anyone wants to order it.
Right.
I was a regular. I used to get upset when I start prep and be like, where are you? It's Sunday night. Why haven't you ordered your pizza yet?
Yeah.
So it's a stuffed crust, large pizza with a barbecue base, and it's chicken, bacon, pepperoni, and tandoori chicken.
Strong
with one of the big garlic and herb dips. And that's to myself. I'm not, my missus will like to quite get a couple of slices, but
no,
she'll maybe have one if I'm feeling generous, and then the rest will be for me. And then dessert-wise, it's got to be my mum's sticky toffee puddings.
Nice,
They are world-class. I've never been to a restaurant where there's been one better than what she makes.
It's always mum's cooking, isn't it? Always something else.
Recipe, but it's like, unreal. So that would be me. I'd be quite content, I think, after that.
Sliders, pizza, and sticky toffee pudding. That's a great combo.
Yeah. So that's me.
You've gone to the most American foods, straight back down to England. With that.
Finished with the top quality, that's right.
Yeah, I've revised mine a bit more now. My main would be a Wendy's double Baconator burger.
I only had Wendy's when I was in Jamaica. And I don't know if it's the same. It was pretty good. But
yeah, I quite like Wendy's. I do quite like Wendy's.
Bit luster for me.
Yeah. And then dessert would have to be a cheesecake. Maybe, I don't know what sort of cheesecake actually, if I'd just go traditional or not. And
me and Katie went to Selfridges, and they do like these salted caramel Biscoff cheesecakes, like little swirly ones. Oh my God, it was like crack in a bowl.
Yeah, that's overkill. Starters, I don't even know. Probably some just like tapas.
Tempura prawns, man.
Prawn cocktail.
Tempura battered prawns, bro.
Okay, yeah. Tempura prawns are good. Yeah. Alrighty.
Cool.
Should we?
Before we let you go, do you wanna plug yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
100%.
Plug yourself.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really glad that I did it on the Fuad podcast, because I did get lots of inquiries just off the back of that. So
I bet.
Probably the same for you guys. So yeah, if anyone does want to contact me for coaching, I am actually getting towards where I am going to be capping it like very shortly, over the next few weeks more than likely. But it's Bob Waterhouse 86 for the Instagram. You can slide into DMs on there, or send me an email at robertwaterhouse86@gmail.com. And yeah, that's obviously if you're looking for contest prep or coaching off season, whatever, something I usually work with. So yeah, thank you guys.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm sure all the viewers are going to appreciate this one. We've had a little bit of a hiatus, so we've come back with a bang. And I'm excited to get this one out. Thank you guys again for listening and watching to Off the Script podcast. We'll be back again next time with another guest or two. We haven't decided yet. I'm sure we'll let the cat out of the bag for that soon. But yeah, thank you guys for listening, and see you later. Bye.
Cool. Cheers, guys.